welcome to the Tough Girl podcast, which is all about motivating and inspiring you. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. The Tough Girl podcast is sponsorship and ad-free thanks to the monthly financial support of patrons. To find out more about supporting the Tough Girl podcast and becoming a patron, please do go check out Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast. I do have some really exciting news to share with you all. The Tough Girl podcast has recently just passed 1 million downloads. 1 million downloads, which is absolutely incredible. And I could not do this without you all. So thank you so much for listening to the Tough Girl podcast. If you are brand new, wow, you've got so many incredible episodes to listen to. There's over 220 episodes live for you to start binge listening to. If you are a regular listener, thank you so much for continuing to listen and to be inspired by the incredible women that I do have on the Tough Girl podcast. And as I said before, the reason I'm able to produce the Tough Girl podcast is because of you, the patron, the supporter, the patrons who are giving between $2 and $25 a month. If you want to support the Tough Girl podcast and help me to reach 10 million downloads, then please do go check out Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast. But today I'm absolutely delighted that we're going to be speaking to Yolanda Holder, who is a professional ultra marathon walker. Yolanda's list of accomplishments as a walker is seriously impressive. She's a 2-time Guinness World Record holder for most marathons completed in a calendar year, finishing a staggering 106 marathons/ultras in 2010. And she also went on to break her own record in 2012, finishing 120 marathons/ultras. Yolanda is the first American woman and first African American to run or walk over 100 marathons in a calendar year, and the first woman in the world to ever do it twice. Let's catch up with Yolanda.
Today, I'm known as the Walking Diva. I've been married for over 40 years, and I have 2 amazing children, RJ and Tiffany, grown children. But I spent most of my years, my adult years, being a stay-at-home mom. I did have a few part-time jobs here and there, but my main focus was to raise my children, and I truly enjoyed staying at home and doing the mommy thing and taking them to all their activities and things like that. So once my children went off to college, I did not have the empty nest syndrome, but my husband did. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but it was finally a chance to be Yolanda. I was always Roger's wife, RJ's mom, Tiffany's mom, and I never knew who I really was because that was my whole focus, was raising my family and, like I said, being a stay-at-home mom. So I had done, in my 40s, I had done a couple of marathons. Back then, you would do, my first marathon, by the way, I'm a power walker, not a marathon runner. I've always walked and been a power walker. So what happened was I was walking my neighborhood, and I met a couple of lady friends, and one of my friends, Brenda, we decided to do our first marathon. And we chose the Portland Marathon because they were walker friendly. And so this was back in 1998. I did my very, very first marathon. I was 40 years old. And I said that I would never, ever, ever do a marathon again. I could barely walk. I finished in pretty good time, 5 hours, and I think it was 43 minutes. But it was really, really hard on my body. So I dropped it back down to half marathons between, I think I was doing like 1 full marathon a year. And mainly it was the LA Marathon and the San Diego Marathon. And so then for my 50th birthday, I decided to do something different. So I set out to do 50 marathons in 50 weeks, and I did not accomplish that. I ended up doing 67 marathons/ultras, and I have never stopped since then.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's so much there I want to dig into.
Yeah, that's why I stopped.
No, I was loving it. It was amazing. So were you sporty or outdoorsy as a child? Was sports or athletics, was that a part of your childhood growing up?
No, I have not. I grew up doing African dancing, modern dance in high school, but I was never an athlete. I liked PE, but once a year, we would do track and field, and it was just like, oh, I dreaded it. So, but I do remember my last year of high school, we had track and field, and we had to run a mile, which was, I guess, 4 times around the track. And I just remember the coach and the children, go, Yolanda, go, 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 go. And so when I finished the mile, I remember the coach coming up to me and said, "You're a long distance runner. You need to come out for track and field." And I never did. And like I said, for my 50th birthday is where this career has started. And it's led me from, I've done over 540 marathon ultras, and it's led me from the marathon to a 24-hour race to multiple day racing. I now do 6-day races, and I did the Sri Chinmony Transcendence 3,100 mile race and set a world record there. First walker to ever finish that brutal, brutal race. But no, the answer to that question is no, I was never physical like that, the way I am today.
Turning 50, a fabulous age. What sort of different ideas were you having in order to sort of mark this occasion? Did you know it was going to be something running related, or how did you end up picking 50 marathons in 50 weeks?
Well, 50 marathons in 50 weeks, I picked that because I was turning 50. I used the whole year that year. I started in January, and my birthday was in May, so I was turning 50 in May. And I just thought 50 and 50 and 50, 50 marathons in 50 weeks, 50. It just sounded amazing. And at that time, I joined 2 clubs here, the Marathon Maniacs, and then also the 50 State Club. So that's where I met so many amazing people that had already done 50 marathons in 52 weeks. And it wasn't many of us, but I felt that if they could do it, I could do it too. And so I joined those clubs and found that there were people much older than me at that time, 10 years ago, and they're just doing amazing. And it's just amazing what the human body can do. And when I first started doing the 50 and 50, at age 50, I got a lot of backlash, because I'm a walker in a runner's world. But a lot of the runners just felt anybody could walk a marathon. And I proved to them that not only that anyone can do it, but it's very hard. It's harder because you're out there a little bit longer, and you had to put more effort into it than what a runner has to do. But the best thing between a runner and a walker that I've learned 540 something marathons later is that we are less injuries than a runner. So that's, I know that's another story, but yeah, it was just something that just sounded amazing, something that I had never done, because at the time I had only done 12 full marathons between the age 40 and 50. And so I just really, really wanted to challenge myself. And I think that's what God had planned for me, because if you fast forward, I ended up with, and how I got my first Guinness World Record was the first year that I did the 50, I did 67. And then that was in 2008. And then in 2009, I did 77 marathons / ultras. And when I say ultras at that time, I was doing, if I couldn't find a marathon, because all the city marathons were on a Sunday and all the ultra marathons were on a Saturday. But Guinness, you had to do 26.2 and beyond. They didn't care how far you went beyond. It still was considered one marathon. So that's how I was introduced to the ultras, is that I had to do a 50K. And so to make it count as a marathon. So on Saturday, I would do a 50K. And then Sunday, I would do the city marathon. And a lot of times, those first couple of years, I was hopping planes. I would be in Los Angeles doing an ultra, and then I would fly to San Francisco and do a marathon there. Or I would fly on Saturday. I was mainly flying somewhere, or on Friday, I would find an ultra in that state that's close by to that city marathon, like Texas, and then I would just hop in planes. And that's what I discuss in my book, in book 1, My Journey to Guinness, which is today obsolete because everybody is doing doubles and triple marathons. But back then, it wasn't many people doing it.
So tell us about your Guinness World Record that you got in 2010.
I got in contact with Guinness, and it was a lady over in Italy. She had did 100 marathons. So I set out to break her record, and I ended up doing 106 marathons / ultras. And it was a journey. It was a little, every single weekend I was doing a marathon or ultra on Saturday and a marathon on Sunday. But the best part was if there was a holiday on a Monday or Friday, someone would, there would be a marathon or ultra to do. So that's how I got a triple in, able to get 3. And then in Seattle, they still have it today, but they had what they called the quad. And you would do, and it was around Thanksgiving. So you would do a marathon on Thanksgiving Day, and then Friday, and then Saturday, and then Sunday you would end up at the Seattle Marathon, the big city marathon. And then also in beautiful Lake Tahoe, they have the triple, and it's called the triple marathon. And so you would do a marathon on Friday and then Saturday. And so you would go around the beautiful Lake Tahoe lake. And so you would do 26 miles on Friday. And then Saturday you would start where you left off at and do 26. And then on Sunday, the city marathon would take you from that point. So it totaled a little over 72 miles. So that was kind of nice to be able to do a triple. So what I would do was find the marathons that were closest to each other, so that way I can get more marathons in and didn't have to really drive all night or hop planes. And so it became very challenging. And so in 2011, the feedback that I was getting kind of just really upset me. And so I wouldn't hardly do any more marathons. And I kind of was, how do you put it? I kind of I didn't want to say I was the Guinness World Record holder because people were confusing me with runners. And then it got to a point where they'll say, "Oh, you ran 106." And I would go, "Yeah." And then it was hard to explain. No, runners and walkers share the same road, and that road is marathons and ultras. But I'm the back of the pack, and I finish whatever in allotted time that they give you. Most marathons are 6 hours, but the bigger ones like New York and Chicago and LA, the bigger, really big city marathons, they allow you more 7 to 7.5 hours to finish. And so my goal was always to finish under 6 hours. So I was focusing more on the negative feedback, and I got really depressed in 2011. And then my son's ex-girlfriend, one day she was over to the house and she said, and I was telling her, I was mentioning the negative feedback, and she said, "Don't listen to all that negativity. You are the walking diva, so wear your crown. And be proud that you are holding the Guinness World Record. You're the only woman, and you're the second woman to do this, and the first American woman to do it, the first African American, male or female, to do it, runner or walker." And that kind of resonated with me. And so that was like in January, February. So around March, I made the decision that I was going to break my own record. But I was going to do it different this time. This time, I'm going to say in your face, here's more 50Ks. And I did 3 Western State qualifiers, 100 milers. And one of the 100 milers I did the 100 miler, which is called, it was last weekend they had it, is Javelina 100 in Arizona. And it's a Western State qualifier. I finished that, and then I drove to New Mexico, and there was a 4-day race there, and I finished the 4 days. And I think me and two other men that are my marathon friends, we were the only, as of today, that has done back-to-back that way. And so I finished with 120 marathon ultras, 3 hard 100 milers in there, along with, I think, about 40, 50 Ks. But I had something to prove, and I wanted the runners to know that we walkers are just as badass as you runners. And so I just said, basically, in your face, here's 120 marathons, now leave me alone. So that's kind of what I did. So that's how I ended up a 2-time Guinness World Record holder, the first American woman to ever do over 100 marathons in a calendar year twice. And I'm pretty sure there's many that have done it since then. And what is so amazing to me today, during the process, you go through a lot of emotions, a lot of things are going through your head. And so now that I've done quite a few more amazing things, I sit back and I look at the 2 Guinnesses, and that was the start. And I have inspired just so many people, and especially women, older women over 40, to get out and get healthy and fit, do your first marathon, ride your bike. If you're into hiking, hike. There's so many women that are now doing triathlons, trying their first, doing a sprint triathlon to a half triathlon. That's what gives me joy, to read the emails that I get from women and men, but just people saying they've done their first 5K. Just amazing.
Actually, one of the races that I think I first heard about you was the Self Transcendence 3,100 mile race. Can I just get you to explain what the race is as well for those people who haven't heard about it? Because I think it's sort of maybe a little bit underground.
Oh, okay. Yes, the Shishamore is the 3,100 is you have to walk or run 60 miles a day for 52 straight days to reach 3,100. It's around a city block in Jamaica, Queens, New York, and it's a half mile around the city block. And so the race starts at 6 a.m. and you have until midnight to complete your miles. And to stay on track, you need to do 60 a day. And so my very first year, I did very well the first 10, 12 days, and then I got sick. I got sick 3 times within the race, which caused me to be 43 miles behind. And so I had to do 100K, which is 62 miles, for the last 20 days to reach the 3,100. And I managed to finish the race with 1 hour to spare. It took me 51 days, 17 hours, and 13 seconds. So, and I was the first woman, the first walker pedestrian to finish the race, because I walked the whole race. And it was very brutal because the elements, the weather it was in the heat of the summer from June to August, and the weather changed every day. It was either high humidity, hot, raining, storms. It was miserable, but I managed to finish it. I lost so much weight, but it's brutal. It's only been 9 women to ever finish it. It's only been 44 finishers. A lot of people haven't heard of it. And now that I've done it, people are pretty much I'm the second American to ever do it. And so it's now getting a little bit more attention, but it's very brutal. You're out I basically told people I lived on the sidewalk because you just went around and around that sidewalk. But it was amazing because a lot of the times, you're questioning yourself, you're crying, you're asking, why are you out here? Why are you doing this? But you had to dig deep. You had to really dig deep. I've always been a believer, but you truly, truly had to believe in yourself. And a couple of times I wasn't hallucinating, but I saw myself walking right in front of myself. The first time it happened, it scared me, and I started shaking my head like, go away, this is not right. And then the next night I saw myself right in front of me, a transcendence, and I said, you go, girl, bring us in, take us home. Because it's just a feeling that you get, that you take your body just through this trauma. Like I said, I've lost. When I look at the pictures, they sometimes make me cry because I can't believe I finished it. I can't believe I did that, and I did it mainly without a crew, and it's the longest certified race in the world, and it's brutal. And you will find yourself out there. You will get to know what you're capable of doing. And so I went back last year, so pumped up and excited, and, couldn't believe that I finished it. And on day one, I got blisters so bad, and they continued on day 22. They took me out of the race. I had to go to emergency, and my feet were just all blistered up. So I didn't do it this year. I took time off to let my body heal and my feet completely heal. And I hope to do it again in 2021, not next year, in 21.
I think the interesting thing about that race is, and I hope people get this, is that it's a city block. Like one city block, half-mile city block. You're just going round and round and round while people are going about their everyday lives, and you're involved in this race. I mean, mentally, how do you prepare? And B, mentally, what is going on in your head? 60 miles, day after day after day after day after day, around a half-mile loop, this half-mile city block. I mean, can you try and describe that? What's going on?
Well, it was a lot. Okay, you're going around this block, and on the block, first there's a high school right on the corner of the block of one of the streets. It's almost like a square. And so you're on this block where there's the high school. So now when the race started, they graduated. The 12th graders graduated. So we had that traffic. Then when a week later, summer school started. So it was just kind of interesting. You had the children that you would see every day. And then I met 3 of the amazing people. There was a park, and then there was the baseball field, there was the playground. And then I knew I'm on the West Coast, and we don't play handball. If they do, I don't know where they do it, but handball is huge in New York. And so they had the handball court. And then in July, they had the tournament. And so people came from all over New York. So that was interesting. But you also saw the same people that would bring their kids to the playground. You had runners there that would run around the block. And so every day it was something interesting to see. I just kind of made a game out of it. Like, okay, who am I going to see today? What am I going to look for today?
Logistics wise, where are you sleeping? What are you eating? How many pairs of shoes would you go through? Can you share a little bit more about that?
They provided 3 meals a day for us. The race directors, the whole race itself is pretty much vegan. Everyone's vegan. So I'm not vegan, but it still was kind of awesome. But they provided 3 meals a day and snacks all day long. But I slept in an apartment that was near the race site, and they picked me up every morning and brought me to the race. But I napped. I ended up napping twice a day. Once, the way I would do it is, okay, I have 60 miles that I have to do. So I would break that down to a 50K, 30. So I would tell myself, you have until 3:00 to finish 30 miles. So in that 30 miles, you had to take your nap. You had to figure out what, eating. And, we all walked and ate, never sat down to eat. But I would take an hour nap. But then towards the end of the race, I learned to meditate, and I would take a 15-minute power nap. And that power nap made me feel like that I had slept for a good 5 hours. The body felt just great and it was ready to go again. And now, as far as the shoes, I brought about 15 pairs of shoes. The first year in 2017, I brought size 9 and 10s. My feet grew and the shoes didn't fit anymore. So I had someone go buy me a size 11, but it was actually too late because my feet hurt so bad. And every time you stop, it took you a lap or two for your body to adjust, and then also your feet. It just felt like every bone in your feet were broken. It just hurt. And then your whole body just hurt. So you had to go there mentally, and it took like 2 laps, a mile, for your body to adjust. So I tried not to stop because when you stop, everything just tenses up. And so at midnight, when they were taking me back to the apartment, it was hard getting out the car. And so I started making up a song and trying to tell myself, because my body just tensed up and it just wouldn't move. And so I would just start singing, ow, 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 ow. Okay, here we go. Ow, ow, ow. And then I would just go for it and just get out the car. And so her name is Bahula. She took me home almost every night. And so she would sing along with me, and she would be standing at the door, and then she would grab my hand, and then she knew by the third time I was singing, ow, 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 we would pull each other. Instead of going 1, 2, 3 out, we would do it that way, because it became a mindset. You had to really just kind of go there with the mind. And so it was really difficult to take a shower. And so that was just a whole process of almost an hour to shower and put your clothes on. And so when I laid in bed, by this time it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we had to get back up at 5:30, no later, to be there at 6. And sleeping was, I think I didn't sleep for maybe almost 3 weeks. It was very difficult. It was just, I cried. It was because the body just tense up. And so then the next morning, get up and you started it all over again. And but then the body started to relax more. Every day it got easier, and all the veterans there, they were just extremely helpful. Everyone would give you their tips to help, and we became. It was 12 of us that year, and we just became like a family. We just kind of helped each other. Everyone had their own remedy for fixing the feet or trying to even keep food down. Because at one point I had a stomach virus, and I got it 3 times. Well, the first time I got it, it never did heal, or go away. So it would just cease a little bit, and then it will come back again. And so there was just different types of food that they were like coconut water. I didn't like the taste of it, but that really helped. And I learned a lot. So the second year, I worked more on my nutrition than what I did on my feet, and that's how I got more blisters. So it was brutal. Like I said, I lived on the sidewalk because we were there for 18 hours.
Why did you want to do this race?
That's the interesting part. When you're doing marathons and you do so many, it's just started with the 5K. From a 5K, I did a 10, and I thought I could conquer that. Then I conquered the half marathons. Then I conquered the marathons, and then the 50Ks, and then the 100 milers became a challenge. It's just your body at least my body craved more. And then mentally, I just felt I could do it. Like with the 3100, I really thought after doing 6 days, 400 miles, I thought I could do it. And so he had asked me to come do the 10-day race. And if I did very well. I set I broke an American record. I did 622 miles. I will admit it was really hard. I had never gone past 6 days, but it was mental. And on day 7, I started questioning myself, and then a couple of the runners were saying, "Well, just don't think of it like that you've never done it. Tell yourself you've done day 7." And you'll get through it. And so I started every day. I ended up doing 100K, 62 miles a day. And so when I finished, the race director said, "You have a good chance of getting in the 3100." And but the 3100 is a monster. I did a lot of crying through that race and questioning myself. And the truly blessed. I have a coach, and she lives in Australia, so she flew in. And when she got there, Renee Cobley, she saw that my mind was gone. And she's also track and field and also a mindset coach. So she put me in that mindset and told me that I can finish this race. And if it wasn't for her, I would not have finished the 3100, because she just showed me a different way. She said, if you tell yourself, if you're not enjoying this race, you're not going to finish it. You have to think, you have to live in the moment as you're doing it. You have to do it lap by lap, not hour by hour. You have to get through each one of these laps. Don't think about the next lap, and definitely don't think about the lap that you did not do well on, the one that you just finished, when you told yourself, "Oh, I could have done it." She said, "No, you're going to focus just on this lap that you're on, and I'll see you when you get back." And so it's just a huge, you have to go there mentally. You have to live in the moment, and you have to enjoy it. And so, like I said, I didn't do it this year. So I did a 6-day race last month in Milwaukee. And so I took everything that I've learned with the 3100 and all the 6-day races that I've done. And I talked to Renee every day. And on day 3, and it wasn't just me, we all cry. Okay. So I was crying, and I called her, and it was day 3, and she was listening to all the excuses and everything while I was crying. And she said, "Let me know when you're done." And I started laughing, and I said, "Renee, this is not funny." And she said, "I'm not the one laughing, you are." And so she told me a few things, put me right back in the mindset, got right back out there. And I finished the race, second female, 413 miles, broke some records.
What was it like, finishing that race, completing it, doing the 3,100 miles around that city block? And then, so what was it like finishing it? And B, what was it like transitioning back to normal life after you've spent 52 days just walking like 60 miles a day, every day?
When I crossed the line, and there's a picture right there, many pictures as I crossed, and they had a ribbon up, and I crossed. And out of over 500 marathons, ultras, I've never cried on any one of those. This one, I cried. And I boo-hooed and cried, and it was the most magical feeling. It was a feeling of relief. It was a feeling of accomplishment. It was feeling like, are you freaking kidding me? Did you really, really, really do this? I dreamed of going around that block when I got home for almost a month. And every time I woke up out of my sleep, I said, thank God I'm here in my bed, not there at the race. It took mentally over a month to stop. I mean, I literally could see everybody in the race. I could see myself. I mean, my dreams of being there was real. It took a month to stop dreaming about it. I went to the doctor as soon as I got home, and I had a virus, a stomach virus. And so I was on antibiotics. That was very scary because it took weeks for me to even start gaining weight back. And I believe a lot of it might have to do with my age also. But that was the first time I felt my age after I got home. Because I couldn't gain weight. I was dreaming that I was there at the race. And it just took a really toll on my body and my mind. But it was also, once I stopped dreaming about it and realized, and then looking at the huge accomplishment that I have done, then it felt good. It felt good, and I felt I could go back and do it again. And I focused last year more on my nutrition so that I wouldn't lose so much weight. And I wanted to get the nutrition right, that I didn't walk every day on my feet. And so that's how I went into the race with tender feet. But back to the question, it's amazing. Like you said, I want to do it again. I'm not going to do it next year because one of the ladies, we become really good friends, Harita Davies. She did it she was the only female last year. And so we kind of took a pact that we want to do it in 2000. She needs a year to rest next year, 2020. So, and then we've already talked to the race director to see if we can get more females to do the race in 2021. They usually have up to 13 athletes, but we were hoping, at least to have 6 women do it. We made history in 2017. Kenyatta, Harita, and I were the first. That was the first time they've ever had 3 female finishers. And Kenyatta broke a world record. I set a world record as the walker. And so that's kind of my goal. It's huge. It's a challenge. And now to be 1 for 1, one finish and one that I didn't, I hope to in 2021 to finish it, but to finish it with more women. So yeah, it's brutal.
So what advice would you have I'm not sure there's many people out there listening who are like, yeah, do you know what? I want to do the Self Transcendence race, 3,100 miles around a city block in New York, over 60 miles every day for 52 days. Yeah, what would be your top tips for even contemplating a race like this?
My tips for them is to do as many multiple days that you can, 6 and 10-day races. And if you can do over 400 miles in the 6th day and over 600 in your 10-day race, but don't just do one, because I did 5 before I entered into the 3,100. So if you can tackle a 6-day race, then you can tackle the 3,100. But you need to do a couple of those. So that's what I would say. And then training for for a 6-day race, I would also tell you, get those feet nice and tough. Break in your shoes. Break them in, at least 6 pair. Take 6 pair of shoes, start rotating them, breaking them in. Also have those shoes, if you're a size 9, buy all 10s. And then maybe even 1 extra pair, 2 sizes bigger than your size. And you've got to get those feet nice and tough. And then work on your nutrition. Work on because what works for me won't work for you, So you need to work on the nutrition. You got to play with it. And then also, when you're doing the nutrition, practice running and walking and eating. You got to, because we don't stop and just sit in a chair and have the table and there we are eating. No, we're eating small quantities of food almost every lap. You're eating something. So you've got to train yourself to know what meals that, what you can keep down, because remember, your body is moving, and then you don't want anything too heavy or too light, and you've got to get those calories in your body. And so, like I said, I learned the hard way, but nutrition is real important, toughing up your feet, and then I really recommend do as many 6-day races as you can before you try to tackle that monster, the 3100.
So Yolanda, I want to mix things up a little bit now. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you a morning or evening person?
I am a morning person, 5 a.m.
5 a.m. Is that when your alarm goes off?
That's when my alarm goes off.
What time do you go to bed at night?
I go to bed no later than 8 p.m.
Are you reading a book at the moment?
Yes, I'm reading Make It Rain by Areva Martin.
And do you have a favorite movie?
Not really, but I have a sitcom that I'm watching called Greenleaf.
I was going to say, do you ever binge watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything?
Yeah, Netflix. Yes.
What about music? Do you have a favorite song or a favorite type of genre?
Right now, I'm Lady Gaga. Heal Me is my favorite right now.
Do you have a mantra or words that you live your life by?
Never give up.
So we were talking about food earlier. What's your favorite type of food in normal life and your favorite type of food when you're doing a marathon or an ultra marathon?
Normal life is tacos and cheesecake. And my marathon food is oatmeal.
Do you have a favorite type of kit or gear? A favorite piece of kit or gear?
Well, I wear running skirts. I do like to look fabulous. So
well, you're the walking diva, obviously.
Yeah, so I do take time, like the half marathon is coming up, the Malibu half marathon that my friend wants me to be there. So I already have my outfit set out for that. So I guess that would be my kit, is putting an outfit together.
When you're out doing your marathons and doing your walking, do you listen to music or podcasts or audiobooks or anything, or is it just you and your thoughts?
It's just me and my thoughts. It's been that way for over 11 years now.
What do you do to rest and recharge?
I listen to, I set my alarm and I listen to this nature sound, waterfalls with the birds in the background. And I set it for 1 hour, and I don't know when it goes off because it puts me right into a nice sleep.
Oh, that sounds lovely, to be honest. It sounds really nice.
It is. I'm telling you, it is.
So, Yolanda, what have you got planned for 2020?
2020, I have planned in January to do a race walk judged 50K. It's actually the nationals. It'll be my third attempt. I've been DQ'd the first 2 years. And so I'm training very hard for the 50K, the nationals. So that's in January. And then I'm working on trying to go to France to do a 6-day race walk there. They have a race walk category there. So I that's kind of up in the plans for 2020, and that's in August to go to France to do that.
Oh, fantastic. And Yolanda, how can people follow along with your journey and find out more information out about you?
You can go to Facebook. It's Yolanda Holder, or my Walking Diva page on Facebook, and also Instagram. You could also go to yolandaholder.com, my website.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yolanda, I just absolutely love what you've done and what you've achieved. And I'd love for you just to leave our listeners with final words of advice, final words of wisdom that you've learned from taking up doing marathons and walking these incredible distances, since your 40th, and then you took it to the next level at your 50th, and you've taken it to the next level again on your 60th, you just keep upping it, which I absolutely love. But yeah, just final words of advice and wisdom over what you've learned over the past sort of 20, 30 years.
What I've learned over these last 20 years is that you really need to believe in yourself and believing that you can achieve your fitness goals, whatever goal that you set fitness-wise that you set for yourself, you can achieve that. And my way of achieving that is to never, ever give up. Every day, do a little something. Something is better than nothing towards your fitness goals. And 1 mile will lead to a 5K. It will lead to 3 miles. You will be so amazed of what you're capable of doing. But you have to stay focused. You have to keep in your circle. You got to keep people that inspire you, or people that are going to motivate you and cheer for you to get to the next level. And just never, ever give up. And don't think because you're 40, you're supposed to not work out, or you can't do it. Don't think in your 50s you can't do it. Just take something as easy as just taking a yoga class, a Zumba class. All of that leads to just moving your body, and it'll lead to whatever your fitness dreams that you've always wanted to do. And I'll leave you with something here. This, believe it or not, I felt the way overweight people. I was very thin growing up, and I heard everything negative towards skinny people. Okay. Just the same way that overweight people hear a lot of negative things. So I never, ever wore a bikini. Do you know, at age 59, I stepped on stage in my very first bikini. I never went to the beach and wore a bikini. Okay. I always had a one piece, and then I would tie the little skirt over me, because I thought my body was so ugly and thin wasn't in. I hated my body. And so I told myself at age 50, 59, you're going to train for your very first fitness competition. I did. I placed in the top 5 in both classes. And last year this year, I did another one, and I placed in that one and won. So what I'm saying is that you can achieve anything you want fitness-wise. Just do it, and don't let anyone stop you.
Incredible words of advice to leave us with. Yolanda, thank you so much for coming on Tough Girl Podcast to share more of your incredible journey. It's been absolutely inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
What a way to end 2019. Yolanda is an absolute inspiration. Everything that we've talked about will be available in the show notes at toughgirlchallenges.com. So if you're brand new, make sure you go and check out the website. On the website, you can find links to more information about me, more information about the podcast, the different books I've written, the different challenges that I've done, and all of the show notes contains all of the information of everything that we've talked about with these incredible women. So well worth doing a little bit of exploring. Just want to give you a little heads up of some of the podcast guests that we have coming on the podcast in 2020. So on the 7th of January, we're going to be speaking to Carmen Rendell, who's going to be walking the entire coast of the British Isles in 2020 to raise the profile for walking therapy. She's going to be looking for people to join her for walks. So that's going to be an incredible episode to listen to, a great way to kick off the new year. On the 9th of January, on Thursday, we're going to be catching up with Emily Penn, who's an ocean advocate and skipper who's working on solving the plastic pollution crisis. She's also the co-founder of Expedition. Another fantastic episode. We originally spoke with Emily a few years ago, so it's great to catch up and see what's been happening in her life over the past couple of years. On the 14th of January, we're going to be speaking to Christina Pelton, who's a Swedish ultra runner who ran alone through Iran to overcome fears and prejudice, a 1,144-mile journey of trust. What I think is really interesting about that episode is Christina calls herself an introvert, and so she goes into more depth about that and how she not overcame, but how she balanced being an introvert while running alone, having to connect with and speak with numerous people every single day. A really, really fascinating episode. So new episodes of the Tough Girl podcast come out on a Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time. Tough Girl extra episodes come out on a Thursday at 7 a.m. UK time. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the episodes. I also just want to do a couple of shout outs as well to members of the Tough Girl tribe. The Tough Girl Tribe is the closed Facebook community that I run for the patrons and supporters of the Tough Girl podcast. It's only open to guests of the Tough Girl podcast and patrons who are supporting at $5 and above, the female patrons who are supporting $5 and above. But I want to say a massive well done to Roseanne. This is really sweet. So Roseanne Quit, just came to the end of a 3-month bikepacking trip, and her flight landed at 3 a.m. on Christmas Day, and she's going to cycle to her mum's house to surprise her. What a lovely, lovely Christmas present, and what an incredible surprise that will be for your mum. So welcome back to the UK. Welcome back to the wonderful weather that we're having at the moment. I hope it's not too much of a shock to the system, but what an incredible thing to do. 3 months bikepacking, absolutely amazing. So Tribe, you may have heard of Ray Red as well. Ray's one of our regular supporters. She's a massive influence in the Tough Girl Tribe, and she's actually started a WhatsApp running group for the ladies of the Tough Girl Tribe, and it's anyone as part of the tribe is welcome to join. Some people who are doing it are doing from couch to 5k, and some of them are training for specific races or longer distance. The aim is to support and encourage each other and motivate when needed. So Ray's been part of the Tough Girl podcast since sort of the inception. She was also a member of the Tough Girl 7 way back in 2017, where she shared more about her ultra running journey. So well worth listening. And if you remember the Tough Girl Tribe, go and find that post and get involved. I think it's an incredible way to keep motivated and keep supported. Jane Harris, who has been on the Tough Girl podcast as well, she has just published issue 8 of Adventure She magazine. There's an in-depth interview in that magazine with another Tough Girl podcast guest, Paula Reed, which shares more about her skiing to the South Pole. She is the cover girl of the magazine, and she's an incredibly resilient woman. And we actually had Paula Reed back on the Tough Girl podcast a couple of weeks ago, Tough Girl Extra, where she shared more about adventure psychology. Absolutely fascinating stuff. So Jane, congratulations on getting issue 8 of Adventure She magazine out there. Absolutely incredible. Well done to Emily Thompson, who ran her longest distance of the year. She ran 14.5 miles of the Peak Forest Canal. Emily, massive well done. What a brilliant way to end the year. Rosie Baxendine, he cycled home for Christmas. Cycled from Edinburgh to the south of Manchester over 6 days, doing as much off-roading as possible and being self-sufficient and bivvying on the way. Rosie, absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that photo. It looked stunning, and you are a brave, brave woman to cycle through the elements in the UK. But just want to say a massive thank you to Alison MacArthur, who runs our Success Sunday post, and she also runs the Tough Girl Tribe virtual book club, and we're going to be kicking that off again in 2020. So members of the Tough Girl Tribe, make sure that you add your ideas and suggestions before we take the vote on which books we're going to be using for 2020. I'm so excited about the year ahead, and I hope you are as well, with the new decade coming up. I will be doing a separate podcast episode where I will be talking, reflecting back on 2019, reflecting back on the Camino, reflecting back on the Lyceum Way, and also talking about plans, my personal plans, but also plans for Tough Girl Challenges in 2020. So that episode is going to be coming out in the next couple of days. But a massive thank you to everyone who supports, massive thank you to everyone who listens. I really do appreciate it. You are all incredible. I know how precious your time is, and I really do appreciate you listening to the Tough Girl podcast and being inspired by these incredible women around the world. Have an awesome day wherever you are, whatever you are doing. I cannot wait to start the new decade with you all. Have an incredible day. Lots of love. Bye.